What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and in today's video, well, better late than never, right? Yes, that's right, you guys. Today we are going to be looking at the long-awaited trailer for the EX Volume 8 update, and we finally get our first look at KOF15 Iori, as well as KOF15 Shun'ei, and yeah, the trailer is, pretty good. There's some issues, but we'll talk about it in today's video. But before we go ahead and get into all of that more, make sure if you guys haven't already done so, you smash that like button and subscribe. Now let's just go ahead and get into the breakdown. Now, as always here on the channel, we're going to take a look at this trailer in its entirety, then we'll go ahead and slow it down, and we'll talk about what our observations are, good or bad. So first up here, let's just go ahead and take a look at the trailer. So the trailer itself is pretty much designed just like any of the other trailers. There's not much to talk about structurally here, but they lead off with Iori's 3PG finisher, which is going to be a big talking point of today's video because there are some massive changes, at least for Iori fans, that happened with his KOF15 climax. And we'll talk about it when we break it down. But as far as his skills are concerned, it's Iori. We have so many versions of Iori at this point that they all kind of run together as far as their skill sets are concerned, to the point where some people might feel a little underwhelmed by him. But it's Iori, right? It looks just like him, so they at least nailed that. So when it comes to Shun'ei, we've talked about this before. This is his first introduction into the King of Fighters All-Star. And overall, as a fan of this character, I'm happy with what I see. I feel like there's some things we'll talk about here, but we'll get into that. So let's go ahead and back it up real quick. We'll slow this down, and then we'll take a look at what there is to see here, right? So we're going to talk about Iori's climax here, because that is going to be one of the big sticking points for a lot of fans of Iori. Now, of course, Iori is going to be the most popular character between the two of these. Goes without saying, this is a fan favorite. This is a classic, iconic character, and his KOF15 garb is looking very, very nice as far as the redesign that they came out with for KOF15. I'm a big fan of the black and red coat. He looks very, very good here, and I don't have any real issues with the model so much as I do with a few of the decisions that were made, and it could be stuff that is going to end up changing anyway, but let's talk about what I'm talking about here. So when we get into the climax finisher, outside of some very, very minor tweaks to the animation itself, which the animation for this, if you compare it side by side with the climax from 15, it's extremely similar. The only real difference is the crescent moon popping up and being more pronounced. And then there's some minor little angle differences and things like that as far as the actual animation is concerned. The bigger issue here for Iori fans is going to be the fact that some of the iconic sound effects that you would expect from this climax are taken out. So for instance, such as screaming, the voice lines, etc. from Iori, that isn't there. They actually reused, from what I can tell, a lot of voice line assets for this character, to the point where I'm not entirely sure that there's a new voice line in this entire trailer for this character. I could be wrong. It's not like I speak the language nor can remember every single bit of voice line dialogue they've ever released for this game. But for whatever reason, something is ringing to me as being very samey about this when it comes to this character's 3PG finisher. You guys can let me know in the comments section down below that are super fans of Iori if I'm off base on that, but I feel like they've reused a ton of voice line assets for this character. Overall, the animation, like I said, is a little bit different. It looks fine. I get the feeling that we're not going to have to worry about this being some sort of finisher where it gets interrupted or anything like that by like your bigger bosses, like your guild rate bosses, for example. But I don't know, there's something about it, and right there, I don't think he's grabbing the head there. I'm just saying, I'm not a doctor, but that arm placement. But anyway, you know, whatever he and Kyo do in their own time is their own business. But when it comes to everything here, as far as the climax finisher for Iori, we talked about this also with this character. He has a ton of options for finishers in this game at this point. So even if you wanted to use a different one, you could go ahead and do that. I am glad that they kept the overall look and aesthetic of the climax here with the red eyes and everything that goes along with it. It's just that audibly it's different, and it threw me off watching it the first time. It definitely was not what I was expecting. So yeah, a little disappointed about that, I'm not gonna lie, but hey, I think we've seen them reuse voice line assets in the past and eventually change it. But it does kind of feel like they could have just gone that extra mile and made everybody happy. So yeah, there is that. But that's going to be the 3PG finisher. Overall, I'm sure it's going to turn out fine. And yeah, the voice line stuff definitely is a bit of a bother, at least for me. So, but anyway, guys, let's talk about his skills. So, of course, it's Iori, so he's going to have his iconic skills. There's really not a whole lot here that sticks out. They do always hide things such as dots if the character has dots. You're not going to get the auras around the characters to give that away typically. You're not really going to ever see hyper armor or super armor. They usually hide that as well, although they've been guilty of messing that up in the past. But overall, you're not going to be able to really tell a whole lot as far as what these skills will do. However, when we take a look at the skills here, I can tell you right now that this character is going to be built very similarly to other Ioris that we've seen, but that goes without saying when we're talking about a character that's, you know, again, very iconic. So he's going to need to have his skills in there to make him that character. But at the same time, I do feel like people are probably going to look at this and potentially be a little underwhelmed because this character has seen several releases in this game, and they're going to see some of these skills, and because they've seen them over and over again, they're going to feel samey. There are differences here if you know what to look for, but overall, I'm happy with what they chose for his skills. I don't have an issue there. It looks like he's going to have off the grounds. He looks quick. He looks like he is going to be a pretty nasty character just in animations. And SS Iori before him is still a pretty nasty character in his own right. It's just that he never really achieved the same damage levels of some of the other characters out there. Although post-buff, one could argue he was much, much better. But overall, I think that this character looks like he's going to be fine. His core finisher is looking like it is going to be a little bit on the longer side for core finishers, at least from what we've had recently, where we're kind of in this new era of very, very quick core finishers, which we'll kind of see an example of with Shun'ei next. But overall, I'm happy with what I'm seeing here. If I'm an Iori fan and I'm a purist, certain things might bug me, but I'd just be happy to be getting a new Iori in general, because there is a good chance that this is going to be a top meta character. And again, when it comes to the actual character model, he looks fine to me. I really don't have a lot of issue there. I just have more of issues when it comes to that climax finisher, that 3PG finisher. But overall, that's mainly going to be things like voice lines and things like that that don't actually affect the actual finisher in practice, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing with Iori. Let's talk about Shun'ei here, because that is going to be the other character sharing this banner, and that is the character that, of course, I am the most excited for. So overall, character model-wise, this character looks phenomenal in my opinion. Now, of course, that's probably going to be blasphemy for some people out there, because some people out there absolutely love hating on this character. Me personally, yes, he is a disaster as far as his design is concerned, but it works for me. There's something very anime about it to me, and it doesn't really bother me personally. So that's just my personal preference. It doesn't really bother me, never really has. I've always thought that he's kind of cool. Bigger issue I had going into this is the fact that they decided to use his KOF15 finisher, which is right here. So his 14 finisher, I know why they went with it. I'm sure it's because it's a little bit on the longer side, it has some more multi-hits in there. Overall, I feel like those are probably the big selling points on this. Although at the same time, I do feel like my preference will always lie with the 15 finisher, just because the 15 climax is a little bit more cinematic to me. It's a little more dynamic. But at the same time, I can see why people would prefer this one also. And I'm not going to complain either way, because honestly, I'm just happy he's in the game. It's just a little bit weird to get the 15 version of the character with the 14 version of their climax. A little odd, but, you know, we'll forgive them as long as the character is good, right? So here is the finisher we're talking about. Obviously, it does have a lot of hits. It's going to be a long finisher, so I think that this is going to be very, very good. This sticks out to me as being one that is probably going to be very nice for things where you want to kind of elongate the fight as much as possible. That usually can translate to more damage down the road in that fight. So overall, very good stuff. Very happy with what I'm seeing there. And then when we get into the skills, skill-wise, you know, the skills that they went with are fine. I have no issue with the reason or with the skills they went with. I do feel like there could have been more done to make this look a little bit better, at least, or to stand out a little bit more. We talked about in the breakdown of kind of just our hype video going into this, when we took a look at some of the trailers for these characters when they dropped for 15, just to get an idea of what they kind of look like in game for people that may not have played the game, just to kind of give them a visual example. when you take a look at these characters, specifically Shun'ei in 15, all the particle effects and all the different things they were able to do with the new graphical engine that they were using made it look very, very good when it came to his skills. Here, I feel like a little bit of that is lost, and I was really hoping that they were going to nail that. I don't want to say it looks like it's underdone, but I do feel like they could have done a little bit more with it. So maybe that's just me nitpicking a little bit. It still looks very good, and it's still obviously Shun'ei. These skills were things that you pretty much could have probably predicted if you threw 5 or 6 different skills out there and a pool of skills that you would have guessed would have been in the kit. You would have probably nailed these 3 in that. But at the same time, I do feel like maybe a little bit more effort could have been done into kind of the particle effects and the different effects going on with him. But I'm not really all that worried about it. I mean, it is something that sticks out to me a little bit, but at the same time, we're playing this game primarily, it's designed for mobile devices, right? So overall, when it comes to the skills, again, we're not going to be able to see dots or anything like that if he has any at all, but I am very happy with the fact that it does look like this character is going to have off the grounds on his skills, looking like it's probably going to be all 3 of them. He actually has one skill here, I believe it's on the S2, where he's actually going to trade places, basically jump behind the enemy, which is sometimes a hit or a miss thing, no pun intended. It can be a good or a bad thing depending on the fight you're in, but probably won't be any sort of thing to talk about. But just something I noticed there, that is one of the skills that they chose here, and you are going to end up switching spots with your enemy, which it can be used to your advantage as well, so that's kind of cool. But overall, I think that this character is going to be very quick. He's going to have a really nice long 3PG finisher. He's going to have off the grounds. It's going to come down, obviously, to what is under the hood. So really, at the end of the day, when it comes with these skills, I will say I am surprised that neither of these characters have multiple skills in their kit over their just regular basic 3. We have been seeing a huge trend of characters, whether it be because of, you know, some sort of EX skill or some sort of derived skill or what have you, having extra skills. So that is something that kind of surprises me about both of these characters. Neither of them have any of that from what we can tell. They look like they're going to be very straightforward characters in the capacity that they're just going to have their 2 finishers and they're going to have their 3 skills. But maybe they're hiding something from us. Of course, we don't really know everything there is to know about these characters. We actually know very little about them as far as what we can tell here. So time will tell, but usually if they're going to have more than the basic 3, then they are going to point that out in the trailer. So I'm getting the feeling that we are going to be getting some traditionally styled characters in that regard. But overall, guys, I'm happy with what I'm seeing with both of these characters. When it comes to the core finisher, the core finisher is right here. It's very quick. This could be a hint that maybe this character, we already know that these characters are going to have effects on their 3PGs. So maybe this is an indication that this character is going to be wanting to toss that finisher out there really quick. Maybe he has some sort of effect in there somewhere that works well with that. I don't know. Pretty much we're just spitballing ideas based on nothing in this video, just like any of these trailer breakdowns, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I'm happy with the characters' overall designs chosen for this game as far as what they made here with the actual animations. I'm really just kind of worried about certain things as far as little details here and there kind of falling through the cracks. So we'll have to wait and see. You know, usually Netmarble is very good about being very traditional minded when it comes to these characters being dropped. But when it comes to the overall just final thoughts, I suppose, of this trailer, I'm happy. But at the same time, I can see where some people that are super fans of Iori would be a little disappointed primarily with this. This climax, this 3PG finisher, there's some audio issues there, which kind of stick out if you're a big fan of this character. And they even stood out to me as somebody who isn't necessarily the biggest Iori fan in the world, but definitely is a fan of him. I'm just not like a super fan like a lot of people that are probably going to be in the comments section of this video. So overall, that did stick out to me, but at the same time, I'm just happy this character is going to be getting a good version in this game because it has been a very long time. He has been needing this. So hopefully it ends up paying off. But in regards to Shun'ei, as far as him being his first introduction, I'm happy with him as well. I just I don't know. I feel like there was a little bit of effort lost somewhere along the lines with some of the effects going on with these characters as well. Just, I don't know, it feels like this is a very tame trailer when it comes to some of the stuff we're seeing in here, but at the same time, it's mainly nitpick on my part. I don't really have any major complaints. We'll have to wait and see what the kits look like, because if the kits suck, the characters suck, then we'll have major complaints, right? But overall, you guys, let me know in the comments section down below what you're thinking about all this. Those are just the things that I'm observing here. I think that overall, this is a positive thing, this trailer in general. I just think that there's certain little things that stick out. So you can definitely let me know in the comments section if they affect you, if they bother you, if your hype has been dampened at all by this, because I know some people already have kind of pointed out that they are a little disappointed about some of the things that are in this trailer. But overall, I think that they kind of, I don't know. I think that they're kind of, really the biggest issue here is the fact that they're kind of just pushing these trailers to the final few hours before the maintenance, and it's kind of annoying. I would have liked to have had this a couple of days ago, but hey, better late than never, like I said at the beginning of the video. So anyway, you guys, like, share, and subscribe on your way out. Let me know your opinions in the comments section down below, and I will talk to you all in the next one. You all take care. Peace.
Continue.